How can your sensors help? Well, the Wyebot sensors both passively analyze the nearby network and actively test it over both wired and wireless. Now, they're specifically designed to help us pinpoint where the problem may be occurring. Was the root cause wireless connectivity, internal network problems, or an external service outage? We don't know yet, and that's what their sensors are here to do. Now, to really dive into this, I want to first touch on wireless connectivity. I know the agenda behind today's webinar is proactive monitoring, but I think this is just an important thing to touch on as it's a good thing to know about for how to troubleshoot. When a user is noticing slow Wi-Fi, one of the most common issues behind that may be a poor connection with their chosen access point. Retransmission is one of the most common symptoms we see related to this. But what is retransmission? That's kind of a weird word. Well, retransmission is when a client sends a client or AP actually sends a packet, but does not hear the acknowledgement, does not receive the acknowledgement from the other party. Now, this is going to keep happening. They're going to keep retransmitting until that packet either goes through or they time out and the device gives up and the user gets back that message saying, sorry, it's not working. And here in this graphic, I have a visual representation of it. We have a laptop here sending a packet to the AP saying, hello, are you there? The AP acknowledged. It actually did its job. It sent the acknowledgement back saying, yep, I got your packet, good to go. But something happened to that packet. Maybe there was another transmission at that time. Maybe the laptop just happened to miss it. Who knows? But then that laptop is going to retransmit. And I have this marked as yellow in here for a pretty good reason. This is what you're going to see the sensor indicate retransmission as. This might not be a significant problem if the user is walking away from the AP and moving from room to room, but if they're just sitting in their office and retransmitting like crazy, that's an issue. That's going to be evidence of slowness. Now, what does this really look like from Wyebot? Well, here's a retransmission signature. This is exactly what you're going to see. And this is an example of a singular client retransmitting, a potential device issue. We have the signature here. Again, that yellow dot is shown. Wi-Fi client retransmission percentage is too high. We can see it's over 15%. And for this particular user, it's way above 15%, 80% retransmission at this particular point. Now, we also get quite a bit of information about the user here. We get their client hostname. In this case, their hostname is Android. They are a locally administered MAC address, meaning it's a randomized MAC, very common to see with Androids and iPhones. 80% retry again, pretty significant. They're almost certainly going to feel that. They were on our guest SSID on our floor 3/6E conference access point on channel 112. Now, an important thing to keep in mind, whenever you're looking at a signature in Wyebot, it is going to show you all of the clients within that time frame that had that problem. So seeing just one client points to it being a device issue. In contrast, here's an example of multiple clients with the same problem. So same signature, but in this case, we can see it's calling out two devices with high upstream, in this case, retransmission. And we can see that one of them here is a locally administered device. The other one is an Intel device. I've blurred out the usernames because these aren't just Android. They were actually some usernames here. But we can see they're different types, right? They're not the same model. We can also see they're both retransmitting. And most importantly, they're both on the same channel here, pointing to more of an area problem. And on 2.4 gigahertz, it's not that crazy to see. You're going to have microwave, you're going to have Bluetooth, you're going to have things that interfere and cause higher retransmissions on this band. In this particular case, we definitely have some issues going on, and we can see that evidence here. One more signature I want to show is just a very clear example of an area problem and kind of round out that story with Susie earlier. So in the case of Susie, the actual scenario that led to that, it was a load balancing bug with one of the AP vendors. And this is the behavior we saw in those sensors. At the time of occurrence, there were multiple clients. I mean, in this case, the screenshot is from 82. There's a lot of clients failing to connect. And the specific message is a client is attempting to connect, but the access point is not responding. So the behavior here, our sensor heard the client ask for Wi-Fi. It can hear the AP, but the AP didn't respond to this packet. Now, that could be because the AP was busy load balancing, or maybe they're too far away. There's a crashed access point. Really, the note I want to make here, if you see this sort of behavior, 82 clients with the same behavior, you know something is very wrong with Wi-Fi, and you might want to just reboot an AP first and foremost. This can happen during roam events, but 82 is quite a few. Now, the other thing that's really important to know, This is the last thing we're going to get to before we dive really into the proactive side of the sensor. You have device forensics. When we're talking, looking up to see if there's issues and how often those issues are happening with users, especially if they don't give us a clean timestamp. This is a great view to use. You just type in either the username or MAC address of your client, and you're going to show their historical trend. This is one of the users in our office, and yeah, their laptop definitely needs some help. We can see they are retransmitting pretty much every time they're nearby. And if we look at other clients and don't see the same behavior, actually just opening up the signature here, even though we're filtered down to a client, is going to show you if other clients are affected. They're not. This is an issue with this particular device.